And here we go. It's another edition of Rock Talk with Bob Bannister and CGCM Rock Radio. And it's been about a year since we caught up with this guy last. Last time we were talking about his solo album, that album that kicked some serious ass. I'm talking the album of Darkness and Desire. It's the one, it's the only, it's the friend of CGCM Rock Radio, Jose Ferro. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to have a friend of CGCM Rock Radio here on Rock Talk. And where are we catching you today? Are you in Vegas? Are you in Los Angeles? Where are we?
No, I'm still in Vegas. We moved out here. We're actually, renting a place. We're looking for a house right now. So I think I'm gonna set roots here in Vegas.
Nice. Just out of curiosity, what's the temperature there today about?
Oh, you don't want to know.
You're right.
It's
I don't want to know.
It's 109 degrees Fahrenheit at what time is it here? 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
109.
We had something like that earlier this week where I went home for dinner, and because I just live a few blocks away from where I work on my day job, and my phone was telling me it was 97, feels like 104.
It's so hot, but it's dry. And the bad thing is, like when I lived in California, they used to have this thing called the Santa Ana winds. When it was hot, it would blow. But the wind blows out here also.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100 times worse. But it's interesting though, man, to see. And like I looked on the weather app for the rest of the week, and it's like pinned 107 every single day and stuff. But thank God we got a pool.
There you go. And central air.
Yeah.
So this time around, you're joining us. You're talking about the new project from Screamin Lords, Bring the Hammer Down. Wow, man, that song is awesome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that song features Richard Frost from the band called Soldier. I think you might have did something, may played, I don't know, somebody
we've
there,
maybe
Rich,
yes.
Dylan. Yeah. And Rich and I go back. When we did the Sweden Rock Festival way back, Kelly Keeling couldn't do it. So Richard stepped in and played. And him and I have hit it off ever since. And we've been writing back and forth of songs. We got like a ton of songs. And then I finally went, we have to finish this. We have to put something out, And so I contacted Chris Collier, who was the drummer on the Screamin Lords, the original one. And Chris has been really busy in the last decade or so. He's been like mixing and engineering and producing all these bands, and he's worked with Korn. He's worked with he remastered the Whitesnake collection. And he's working. He did. I think he. Be corrected. I think he engineered and he mixed the new Mick Mars record.
That album's so good too.
Oh, the sound. And I called him and I said, and he lives here too in Vegas. And I was like, you got to help me. I was like, so he got the tracks and he did them, and he mixed it and stuff like that. And it sounds amazing, and I'm just really proud of it. And, I'm really glad to be able to put out some new material, because it's been a while since we did the last record of the Screamin Lords, and it's always bothered me, but we're here. So if everything goes right and keeping our fingers crossed, you know what I'm saying, it'll be available on all the streaming services July 1st.
There we go. And we're in such a great era right now where artists can do everything at home. Technology is just absolutely amazing right now. How much of that came into play on this?
I would say, well, what I basically did is did the tracks here at my place, and then I would send them because I don't know if I mentioned, but Richard lives in the UK.
Okay.
He lives in Northampton.
Right.
So I would send him the files, and then he would send me the tracks, his vocal tracks, and then we'd put them together. I get Chris involved, and then he would mix it. But yeah, technology today, it's pretty scary. You know what I'm saying? How easy it is. But, not that I would say I would, it's not about bad mouthing, but everybody can do it now. And you know what I'm saying? And so it's almost like you hear so much music today, you just go like, it's, and some of it is great. Some of it's great, and some of it is like,
Yeah.
and it kind of floods the market. You know what I'm saying? But
Yes.
but you know what? I don't want to ever take anybody's creativity, or their desire to be creative or to be a musician or an artist or anything like that. Everybody should do it.
Mhm.
But the technology today, it's scary because you're talking to a guy that's done analog tape. I've done the analog tape. Like, I don't know if I've ever sent you the stuff that I did with my band Agents from the '80s. That's all 2-track tape, analog tape, mixing on the console. There was none of this, plugins or guitar sims or any of that. We had to work it from square one. And I can appreciate now, the differences between the two of them and things. There are sometimes I do hear a difference, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And as far as the audio, I don't want to say quality, but the audio tonality to it. But
Right.
I can appreciate both, you know. But having a great pair of ears and someone as talented as Chris to be involved, with the mixing process, and he's just amazing. I can't, I love the kid to death. Yeah, I really do.
That's cool. And you and I can relate a lot, because when I started out in radio, in the radio biz, I came up, we did everything on reel to reel tape, working with a
Yeah,
grease pencil and a razor blade.
that's it.
You wanted to make a commercial. It took you like 45 minutes to make one commercial. Now it takes you like three.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just, it's cutting and editing and pasting and doing this. Now it's just like, you know, what digital audio workstation are you going to use? What plugins are you going to use? I mean, it's almost, there are so many options and choices. It's like it's real easy to get that option anxiety or go down the
Yes.
rabbit hole of technology where you're sitting there instead of trying to get, with the creative process to really get through and finish and complete something where you're trying something new and you're trying this and you're trying this, and that rabbit hole could really take you on some crazy paths,
Oh yeah.
because there were times that I was sitting there going, I got all these, guitar sims and plugins, and I just go like, well, what would this sound like? And 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 there has to be a moment where a lot of people that follow on YouTube and other people that I respect in the industry, where I would say you have to make the decision and commit. That's it,
Hmm.
because you really can go around this carousel of just trying new things and new things and new things, and after a while, it's like, what was the song about? What you know what I'm saying? What was I doing? And
Exactly.
it really happens. It really does happen.
Oh, it
So
certainly does. I mean, it's like that for some of the stuff. Like I do a lot of the imaging for CGCM Rock Radio, and the guys will say to me, "Hey, Bob, can you do this for me for my show?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, no problem. Piece of cake." Well,
right.
it doesn't turn out to be a piece of cake. It turns out to be the whole bakery. You know.
Yeah, it's true. It's really, really true. And I mean, you know, it's really, really crazy. I mean, like I said, technology, it's just even not only in the audio sense, but in video sense,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, these apps on the phone, like, I was contemplating doing some kind of a video, and I'm just, I scroll through Facebook or whatever social media sites that I go to. And these apps that they have, making videos that I just go like, this is insane
It really
because
is.
it's so easy to do something. But that I truly believe, you can have all these tools, but you got to have the creativity,
Bingo.
behind you, and that's really the big thing about, you could have all the greatest tools in the world and not know what to do, you know, or that creative insight with it, But like I said, I've seen a lot of projects out there, a lot of music from new people, and with their videos that I love it. It's great. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And then there are definitely ones that I just go, No, what? You know, but to each his own.
Absolutely, absolutely. But would you say that we are in the midst of a rock revival?
I'm hearing, from what I'm hearing, is that I forgot where I heard it or I read it somewhere that, and this is something I'm paraphrasing or rehashing what I remember reading, that
Mhm.
Universal is, music is out looking to sign more rock acts. I remember. I can't remember where I saw it. It had to have been on something, one of these news channels or something, a music news channels and stuff like that. But
Right.
I do think there's a rock revival, but I think it's also cyclical.
Yes.
I mean, it's weird. It's like years ago. Let me give you like an example. When I used to work in the '80s, when I was doing my band, I used to work in the music stores in New York City, Sam Ash and Manny's Music.
Mm.
And when I was working there in the '80s, when the '80s came out, nobody wanted a Les Paul, a Gibson Les Paul, or a Fender Stratocaster. Everybody wanted a flashy Jackson or an Ibanez or a BC Rich or any of those type of guitars and stuff like that. You couldn't give away the stuff. But then
That's
all of
right.
a sudden it started to swing back. You could see that it happens again. And like then the '80s music was kind of like that heavy metal stuff was changing. It was going to grunge, but then it came back with the '90s with heavy metal music. A lot of the stuff that came out in Europe, like you'll call it whatever. I hate the phrase of new metal because it's just new genres of metal have
Mhm.
came out at that particular time. But yes, I do believe there is a rock revival, and there's a lot of great bands that are coming out that I'm trying to catch up at the same time. Like I'm learning, I'm teaching myself how to keep up. And
Exactly.
it's great because I have a 15-year-old grandson
Mhm.
who is. I'm so proud of him. His name is Ellis. Evan, excuse me. His older brother's Ellis. And he's so talented, and I'm so proud of him. When I need to know what's going on, I
Mhm.
go, who should I be listening to? I have another nephew that's back on the East Coast. I go, who am I supposed to be listening to? Who are the new people that are really hot? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That I just that and we discuss it, and they tell me, and I go and listen to it, and I go, okay, I get it. But because then, like I said, I don't want to make it sound like I'm 90 years old, but I'm pretty old school, and I grew up with all the great metal bands and
Yep.
all the things, and I need to get that younger perspective, and that's what I try to do. You know what I'm saying? So, but to answer your question, after my long trip down the road, down the rabbit hole, it's definitely yes, I do think there's a rock revival coming.
And it's speaking of that, it's kind of interesting because we like to say at CGCM Rock Radio that the rock scene isn't dead. It never went away. It went on vacation to Europe. But having worked in radio for as long as I have, you kind of become a student of the industry and a bit of a historian as well. And I'm starting to see something in North America that we saw back in the, I'd say, late 50s, early 60s, where bands are becoming very regionally successful. But, 100, 200 miles outside of that hub, people don't really know them. Like there's some great bands coming out of Chicago, a hell of a lot of great bands coming out of Texas. I'm sure it's the same with New York,
Yeah.
LA,
Mm-hmm.
Houston.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's true. I'm trying. God forgive me for not remembering the name of the band, but the Darkness were doing their
Yes.
20th anniversary tour, and they played here in Vegas, and I'm a huge fan. So my fiance and I went to the show and stuff, and it was a band. They were from Ohio. These
Mhm.
guys killed it. I was like, oh my God, these guys were killing it. And I feel bad because I'd love to give them some kudos right now, but I don't remember the name of the band. But man, I was like, who are these guys? And then somebody said, oh, they're from Ohio and stuff. And they were standing outside after the concert, in the lobby and stuff. And I
Mhm.
went up to them and I said, you guys kill it, you know? But yes, there are a lot of regional bands, and it's hopefully that a lot of these bands start to blossom and grow, you know what I'm saying? Or get out. But there are so many bands today, and we're all struggling to get notice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's one of those things, but I do believe that the cream will rise to the top,
Absolutely.
and I truly believe that, you know what I'm saying? But, and it's all about the taste of the people that are out there, things. It's like, the way that I look at it, remember in the old days, listen to me, bands would get signed for a couple of album deals. You know what I'm saying? And today it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's more like, in the sense of like, okay, what's this week's flavor of the week?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of strange, but I don't know.
But
I go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's also kind of interesting because I've talked to several other up and coming bands, and the one thing they keep saying to me is you know what? It's not economically feasible for us to release an album. It's actually easier for us to get a collection of singles and just release those every few months or so. I kind of think that might be the way that the music industry is going.
Absolutely. I've had long discussions with people about that, and discussion with Chris, and I was like, look, I want to put another record out. And he said to me, he goes, why? He goes, just put some singles out. You know what I'm saying? And see how the response is when you do your singles. Like, I have already another backup behind Bring the Hammer Down, that I'll release, maybe 6 to 8 weeks later or whatever and stuff. And I do have a new song for a single for my solo record, and my second one that I'm working on.
Oh, cool.
And to really kind of like stagger it and see how it goes. And if it starts to build up, then add the additional songs, and then you can put some compilation together. But absolutely, I'm seeing it. It kind of reminds me, if you think about it, I mean, I was young enough to remember these things when all the bands, like in the early 60s, and, they were doing singles.
Yes.
And if something happened,
yes,
then they would do a record.
Then they do the record after that. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that, I'm seeing that swing, kind of like that happening and stuff like that. But like I'm saying, one thing, I'm not speaking for any of the other genres that I'm not really that well versed in, like the hip hop or whatever, and things like that. I'm just talking about strictly rock that I've seen, or even commercial songs and stuff like that. But it is what it is.
And it's kind of interesting on that same vein. I don't know if you've ever seen the series that Brian Johnson from AC/DC did. It was called On the Road with Brian Johnson. It was an interview show. And in one of them, and this, he did this probably about, I want to say about 5-10 years ago. One of them, he was talking to Joe Elliott of Def Leppard, and it was right when Leppard finished their Vegas residency there.
Right.
And Joe said, do we really want to spend another 5 years in the studio producing an album? We're not getting any younger. Technology's changing. Is it more feasible for us to put out a single at a time and do it that way? And I saw that just the other day, and it was the second time I'd watched that interview, and it's like, wow, that's ahead of the time right there. But he had it dialed in right there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree, because you can go on and see that a lot of bands, up and coming bands, are trying to do that. Like, look at Apollo when he was doing his other band.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Rewowler, I think they would call from Sweden.
Yeah, Revolver, yeah.
They put out, there you go. And he put out a single, and then they put out another one. I haven't followed up and checked what they did, but, a lot of bands are doing that. And it just seems like a smart thing to do, Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's why I said, you know what? I'm going to try it this time, instead of like really sitting it, like you said, 6 months, a year, 2 years working on an album. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're not getting younger.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
But getting back to Screamin Lords here, Do have to pass on condolences. You did lose guitarist Jason Guile there not
Yeah.
that long ago. Played a big part in that band.
You know, it was strange because Jason and I met in Los Angeles, and when he moved back, he's from Rockford, Illinois,
Okay.
and he moved back, and I know that his mom wasn't well, and I think she passed away a couple of years
Oh,
ago. And I've always stayed in touch with Jason, always. We call each other and just to see what's going on and everything like that. And in April 9th, I called him for his birthday, and I didn't hear anything. And he always calls me back right away,
mm-hmm.
you know, always calls me back. And I was like, this is weird. Something's weird. So I called him back again, and I called him back again, and no answer, no answer. And Dustin Boyer, who was also the other guitar player that was on the Screamin
Mm-hmm.
Lords now, he plays with John Cale, and he's been really busy with John. I called him because, I was like, have you heard from Jason? He goes, no, nothing. So then finally, about 2 weeks later, on a Sunday, he calls me. And I was like, Jace, where you been? And he says, oh, I was sick in the hospital, and, my back was killing me and blah, 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 and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, are you okay? But I could tell he was playing something down. There was something really wrong. And I had this immediate feeling. And usually if I feel something or something's not right, I'll say something. I'll say like, and I didn't do it. I was like leaving him, and I was just like, and I said, Jason, I'm working on some new stuff. I got to get you to play on some new stuff. And he goes, absolutely. I'm totally into it and everything like that. And Wednesday night, I get a phone call from my daughter about 11:30 at night, and she's hysterical. And I'm like, oh my God, something happened to the kids. And she goes, Dad, Jason died. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? She goes, he passed away and something. I don't know what really happened to him. You know what I'm saying? I think there was something in his body, his kidneys, or I honestly don't know.
Oh,
You know what
wow.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I was devastated. I was like, I couldn't believe it. This is a guy that I've known more than half my life, played music with him, worked with him when we worked together at the guitar company, played over, at the Sweden Rock Festival. He's been there, at my house numerous times when my grandkids were born and everything. And it's just, it really blew me away, and it took a while, and it was like, I don't know where I was. Because we were all fans of that 80s metal and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
we both loved Whitesnake, and one of the songs came out, and I just lost it. It reminded me so much of him and everything. But, the good thing is that I've been digging through my archives of everything that I have, all my hard drives, and pulling them out. And I have a lot of videos of us when we went to Sweden Rock
Mm.
and the rehearsals. And I have all of the, when we were just flying and stuff like that, and pictures I found that I was like, oh man, I'm going to probably put something up on the Facebook page, like just certain things. And I did contact his dad, and I told him that I have some of the Screamin Lords CDs, and I have some other videos and pictures that I'm going to put together to send to his dad and to his family back east. But yeah, I'm going to miss that guy. He was a sweetheart. He was so funny, but and a talented guitar player. It's just, I'm gonna miss him. I really am gonna miss him.
Mm. Absolutely.
So yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
Mm.
But
Well, you have our condolences here from CGCM Rock Radio.
well, I appreciate that, and I'm sure his family appreciates that too. So
Mm.
thank you, thank
You're
you.
welcome. So let's lighten the mood a little bit here. Sorry for taking it down a little
No,
bit.
no, no. It's not. I'll always remember the good things. And that's what I got to do. And you know what I'm saying? And let's celebrate his life. That's the way I look at it.
There you go.
You know.
There you go. So here's a question for you. And I'm actually kind of giving kudos to my wife for this one, because she and I talk music a lot. And this is her question. She says, is there a song that you just absolutely love that you would think that would make an absolutely great cover? You've never heard anybody cover it. You do it yourself, or you want to hear somebody else do it?
You know, there have been numerous times where I've said that I wanted to do a remake of a song around famous people at the guitar company, you know, who actually turned around and did do them.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. A guitar player, but I'm not going to mention his name because he'll all get all crazy, whatever. But he did it. But one of my favorite songs that we did live, when we played the Screamin Lords, is this song called Evil, which is by Cactus. Did a remake, Carmine Appice's band, Cactus, did a remake of a Howlin' Wolf song. Oh God, please forgive me for not remembering. I was going to say Muddy Waters, but they did a remake of it. And
Right.
I love that song. It's just so good. And Carmine had just released it again on his CD. You know what I'm saying? He's got, I think, Ted Nugent and Doug Pinnick of King's X.
Yes.
He's playing bass on it. And that's one of my favorite songs. I love that. I'd have to go back and really think and listen to certain songs. There are some like Nazareth songs that I really, really liked. I love that song that they did. It was This Flight Tonight by Joan Baez.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah. And it was from the Loud and Proud album. And probably, you know, and I hate to say it because somebody's going to watch it and steal it, is the song Razzmatazz.
Oh,
that's off of that. You know, it's just so with the drums and everything. I love that song. So maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying?
Have you heard Slash's new album, Orgy of the Damned?
Is that the blues one he did?
Yes.
I heard a snippet of the one that he did with Beth Hart. That's it. But I got it. She's amazing.
Oh
she's
my God. Yes.
Ungodly, you know?
Yes. When I heard that song, that song you just referenced there, I turned to my wife and I said, Beth Hart just took me to church. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There's a lot. She is so unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? But I haven't had it. It's like I said, it's just trying to get the time to listen to new things and do this and do that and everything like that. But, you know, I love that. And that's one of the records that I definitely want to listen to and stuff, that doing remakes of these old songs. Because if you think about it, all of these guys, you know, the bands, like I was listening back to, like, I love Humble Pie. I'm a big Humble Pie fanatic. And what was I doing? I was watching TV or something, and I heard a song that they did on the live album, the original version. It was like this old blues tune. I was like, whoa, this is insane. This is the original cut. You know what I'm saying? And it was, I love when people take those songs like that and redo them and things. To me, I really think that's great. So
absolutely.
It's really cool.
All right. So we're running out of time here on this session here, but let's wrap things up with a little thing I like to call This or That. It's just a series of 5 multiple choice questions. You give me this or that, and we'll go from there. So we're going to start things off. I already know the answer to this one. Tea or coffee?
Oh, coffee, hands down.
Hands down. You're a New Yorker, so yeah, definitely. Summer or winter?
Oh, summer.
Club gig or festival gig?
I gotta say the festival gigs. Oh, absolutely.
Steak or seafood?
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, I don't know. That's a tough one. If I really had to pick, and you know what, oh God, I don't know. Maybe seafood. I'd say both. You know,
surf
see
and
all
turf.
of the above. See all of the above.
Absolutely. As a bassist, pick or no pick?
Both. It's both.
Yeah.
I have to say that, you know, I use both,
Mhm.
and really it's all dependent on the song. And it's really truly, I truly believe it. I've gotten into some serious debates about it with some guys who are, oh, I only play with fingers. Well, okay, great, you know, but I can't pick one. It's both.
All right. And finally, this is the big dividing one. It's probably about 50-50 on this one for this question. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Hell no. Hell no. What? Let me tell you, really quick. I know we got a limited amount of time. First time I came to California, and I got a job. I was working at Guitar Center, and we were in the back and everything. And the guys are going, "Hey, we're gonna get a pizza. We'll take care of Jose. We're gonna get him some pizza and everything like that." I was like, "Okay, cool." So they get the pizza and it comes in, and I walk over and I open the box up, and it's Hawaiian pizza, right? So I
Mhm.
open it up. I go, "What the hell is this?" And they're going, "This is Hawaiian pizza." I go, "This is wrong." I flipped out. I was like, "This is so wrong." I said, "Are you kidding? My Italian friends in New York would beat me if they see me eating this stuff." I said, "It ain't happening. Where's the pepperoni?" You know what I'm saying? Hell no.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Hey, where can people get more information about you there, Jose?
You know, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. It's Jose Ferro Bass. You know, I think anybody could look at that and do that. I'm going to put a website probably together so I can have more things to add more things on it. But that will be happening in the future, and I'll post that too on all the social media sites.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Rock Talk, Jose Ferro.
I appreciate it, Bob, and please give my regards to everybody there at this, at the podcast and the station or whatever and stuff. And I so appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
And thank you for joining us on this edition of Rock Talk on CGCM Rock Radio.